For over 7 decades, India and Pakistan have sparred across battlefields, borders, and diplomatic tables. From the high-altitude combat in Kargil to the thundering airstrikes over Lahore, every confrontation has tested India's resolve. Yet, in every war, every standoff, and every provocation, India has not just held its ground, it has outmaneuvered, outlasted, and outshone its Western neighbor. Why is it that every time Pakistan challenges India, the result is a reaffirmation of Indian supremacy? Hello and welcome. You're watching Statecraft with me, Geeta Mohan. Since their partition in 1947, India and Pakistan have fought 4 full-scale wars, multiple skirmishes, and endured countless provocations, most notably over Kashmir. Each time, Pakistan has gambled on war or terror, hoping to redraw maps or win global sympathy. But history has shown a consistent pattern. India emerges stronger, militarily dominant, and diplomatically fortified. Whether on snow-capped peaks or in the court of world opinion, India has consistently demonstrated a strategic edge. How has India managed to repeatedly best Pakistan on every front? The ink had barely dried on the partition map when Pakistan sent tribal raiders or a unit of irregulars often backed by the Pakistani army into Kashmir. Their aim was to forcibly annex the princely state. But when Maharaja Hari Singh signed Kashmir's accession to India, Indian forces airlifted into Srinagar and turned the tide. Pakistan expected an easy grab. What it got was a line of control and India retaining the Kashmir Valley. Though the war ended in a ceasefire, the outcome marked India's first military and diplomatic win and the birth of Pakistan's Kashmir obsession. Believing unrest in Kashmir had ripened into rebellion, Pakistan launched Operation Gibraltar, sending infiltrators into Indian territory. But the move backfired spectacularly. India counterattacked not just in Kashmir but across the international border into Lahore and Sialkot. Pakistan's strategy unraveled as Indian forces gained ground. Though the war ended with the Tashkent Agreement, the message was clear. India would not only defend its territory, it would respond with overwhelming force. Pakistan's narrative of liberating Kashmir had failed yet again.
47,
yes,
when
please.
The Pakistan military launched the raiders, the so-called raiders, tribal raiders that suddenly surged out of Pakistan and tried to capture the lands of Jammu and Kashmir by force, and the Indian army had to enter, and that led to the first Jammu-Kashmir war between 47 and 48 that led into a full-scale war with the Pakistan military. And then you had 1965 where Pakistan's first military dictator, Ayub, launches this Operation Gibraltar to take Jammu and Kashmir. That's the last time they try to do it conventionally because he sees the window of opportunity to capture Kashmir gradually receding with India's mobilization, militarization post the 1962 war. He tries that, he fails, Ayub is thrown out, discredited, replaced by Yahya Khan, an even more adventurous Pakistan military dictator who then launches a war of aggression against India in 1971 because he believes he has both China and the United States backing him, because he has facilitated this historic meeting between Mao and Nixon.
No moment defines Indian military dominance over Pakistan more decisively than the 1971 war. Among the most widely circulated boasts, often attributed to senior military officers and echoed in state-aligned press, was the claim that the Pakistani army would not only crush India but march triumphantly into Delhi to have tea at the Red Fort. The phrase became a symbol of the delusional overconfidence that pervaded parts of the Pakistani establishment, standing in stark contrast to the sobering reality that would unfold on the battlefield. Triggered by Pakistan's brutal crackdown in East Pakistan, now Bangladesh, and the resulting refugee crisis in India, New Delhi launched a two-front war. Within 13 days, India captured over 90,000 Pakistani soldiers, carved out a new nation, Bangladesh, and left Pakistan humiliated. This was not just a military win, it was geopolitical re-engineering. India had permanently altered South Asia's landscape and shattered the myth of parity.
Ayub is thrown out, discredited, replaced by Yahya Khan, an even more adventurous Pakistan military dictator who then launches a war of aggression against India in 1971 because he believes he has both China and the United States backing him, because he has facilitated this historic meeting between Mao and Nixon, and he believes that they are going to stand by him, when the balloon goes up. The United States tries, but China doesn't, and the result is for the world to see. It's the bisection of Pakistan. Bangladesh is created. And then you come down to the 1970s when you have another dictator, Ziaul Haq, who doesn't try anything adventurous, but then he starts the nuclear weapon program. He grabs the nuclear weapon program, he assassinates Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, a judicial assassination, grabs the nuclear weapons program, and then his successors start what Commodore Uday Bhaskar actually calls nuclear weapons enabled terrorism, where they fuse this nuclear weapons program with terrorism. So while the first decade of Pakistan's existence is about the nuclear weapons program from the 70s to the mid 80s is about securing Pakistan's existence to protect themselves from an Indian conventional response, somewhere in the mid 80s they say, hey, let's use it to protect our terrorist infrastructure as well. And that starts off a new phase of nuclear weapons enabled terrorism, which then lasts right up to 2016.
In an audacious move, Pakistani soldiers occupied Indian posts in the Kargil sector. But Operation Vijay proved just how prepared and professional the Indian army had become. Braving altitude, terrain and enemy fire, Indian soldiers reclaimed nearly all lost positions. Internationally, India won support for its restraint and discipline, while Pakistan was globally condemned. Kargil ended with Pakistan pulling back under pressure, its military misadventure exposed. Once again, India defended its sovereignty and its image.
Every Indian administration is deterred by the prospect of Pakistan's nuclear weapons. If you look at it in 1999, India is careful not to cross the line of control and take out the Pakistan army, despite the fact that we were well within our rights to cross the international boundary, because what they did in 1999 was a betrayal. It was a betrayal of the Shimla Accord of 1972. It should have been met with far greater force, but we held back, possibly because of nuclear weapons. But from 2016 onwards, we've seen a complete reversal in the way the Indian government has reacted to Pakistan's nuclear blackmail. 2016, you have the Uri strikes, the surgical strikes. 2019, you have Balakot, where once again India launches Air Force jets against a target in mainland Pakistan, a terrorist training camp, one camp, and back to 2025, where in response to the horrific massacre at Pahalgam, India launches 9 attacks across the breadth of Pakistan, from Pakistan-occupied Kashmir right down south to southern Punjab, takes out the headquarters of the Jaish-e-Mohammed and the Lashkar-e-Taiba, which have been leading India for 25 years. So this is a huge, huge red line that's been crossed, Geeta, in 2025. We will talk about 2025, 50 years, 75 years down the line, because I believe that, till the time the Pakistan military is not taught a lesson. Because, all of us simply seem to believe that we are up against terrorism, we are up against the ISI.
So right.
We are actually fighting the Pakistan army.
In the icy expanse of Siachen, India launched Operation Meghdoot to preempt Pakistani moves on the world's highest battlefield. Despite brutal conditions and immense costs, India has held the strategic terrain ever since. While Pakistan periodically challenged India's presence, it never dislodged it. For nearly 2 decades, India's unyielding grip on the glacier symbolized its resolve to control not just land, but strategic dominance over key geographies. Following the brazen attack on India's parliament, India responded with its largest military mobilization since 1971. Operation Parakram placed over 500,000 troops on high alert, pressuring Pakistan diplomatically and psychologically. Though war was ultimately averted, India signaled that the era of silent suffering was over. It was a psychological victory and a warning further provocation would not go unanswered. When 19 Indian soldiers were killed in Uri, India responded with pinpoint surgical strikes across the LOC, destroying terror launch pads. For the first time, India officially acknowledged a cross-border retaliatory strike, a dramatic shift in policy. Pakistan, in denial mode, couldn't admit the breach without admitting guilt of harboring terrorists. The strikes didn't just punish terrorists, they reset red lines and redefined deterrence in South Asia. In the wake of Pulwama suicide bombing that killed 40 CRPF soldiers, India launched airstrikes on Balakot, deep inside Pakistan's Khyber Pakhtunkhwa province. This marked the first air raid across the LOC since 1971. While questions remain over the strike's damage, its strategic impact was undeniable. Pakistan's retaliation led to the downing of an Indian MiG, but the return of Wing Commander Abhinandan under global pressure was a diplomatic coup. India had shown it could strike at will and retrieve its own. When a terrorist attack in Pahalgam killed 26 tourists, India held Pakistan responsible for nurturing terror networks. Unlike earlier eras, the response was immediate and multidimensional. Diplomatic ties were downgraded, the Indus Waters Treaty suspended, and Atari borders sealed. For the first time in decades, India openly challenged every pillar of bilateral agreement. India launched Operation Sindoor, a coordinated barrage of missile and drone strikes targeting 9 terror camps in Pakistan's the Punjab and Pakistan-occupied Kashmir, focusing on Hizbul Mujahideen, Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed camps. Specific targets: Hafiz Saeed and Masood Azhar's hubs of terror. These weren't just retaliatory strikes, they were precision-guided messages. Pakistan retaliated but failed to achieve strategic gains. While both sides faced losses, India had yet again demonstrated superior military technology, intelligence, and control over escalation.
We have India striking first with Operation Sindoor, which was a very deliberately calibrated operation which targeted only the terror infrastructure inside Pakistan. And in fact, Foreign Secretary Vikram Misri's statement yesterday was very explicit in the fact that they did not target any military infrastructure, they did not target any civilians, they only targeted terror camps, terror infrastructure. And they had said that this was non-escalatory, meaning that Pakistan could now take the way out and de-escalate. But Pakistan chose to go in exactly the opposite direction. So that the word there, the operational word there, Geeta, is unpredictability. If the Pakistan army thought it was going to be unpredictable, well, they're faced with a political leadership in India which is even more unpredictable. Yeah. And they possibly did not foresee the range of options that India had on the escalation ladder. They did not see India climbing up the escalation.
So the purpose was very clear. It's not only because of Pahalgam attack, that is only a takeoff point.
Yes.
It is because for the last so many years, 35 years,
yes,
Pakistan has been just doing acts of terrorism against India. And before that, it has been doing wars with us, right from 1948, 65, 71, Kargil.
Yes.
Why it changes strategy? The easiest option is low-cost war, that is terrorism.
To go through proxies.
That is terrorism, because conventional war, it knows it cannot fight with India. It will just get defeated the way 93,000 soldiers were captured in 1971 war, and we created a country, Bangladesh. So therefore they resorted to this low-cost option, war, that is terrorism, and this they have been doing it since last 35 years. Now I will not go how they started it, from where they got this manpower, that we will not talk about it, but to suffice it to say that it is that they resorted to this act of terrorism.
Yes.
35 years. And so many incidents have happened. Parliament attack, 26/11, so many
attacks.
You know, innumerable.
Yes.
So India has an option, either tolerate it or now just defeat this terrorism. You know, everything has a threshold level. And this time the trigger point was Pahalgam attack. Because of the trigger point, the nation took a resolve that we will strike them.
Time and again, India has turned international opinion in its favor, whether it was after the 1971 refugee crisis, Kargil or Balakot. India has wielded diplomacy as effectively as its weapons. Pakistan, often isolated, is left to explain its actions while India gains sympathy and support. India's military doctrine is rooted in restraint backed by strength. It is not about conquest, but about deterrence. With professional armed forces, cutting-edge surveillance, and a growing defense industrial base, India's responses have become sharper, swifter, and smarter. India's rapidly growing economy and global integration contrast with Pakistan's economic fragility. This asymmetry means India can afford long-term strategic commitments, while Pakistan often folds under pressure. Institutions like India's judiciary, media, and democratic setup add to its international credibility. From tracking infiltration routes in Kashmir to identifying terror camps across the LOC, India's intelligence network has grown in precision. Surgical strikes, drone surveillance, and cyber capabilities have given India an edge in modern hybrid warfare. From the snows of Siachen to the skies over Balakot, every India-Pakistan confrontation has ended the same way: India holding the high ground, militarily, diplomatically, and morally. Pakistan has tried insurgency, invasion, and intimidation only to be met with a nation that refuses to be shaken. With every crisis, India refines its doctrine, reinforces its defense, and reasserts its dominance. In this enduring rivalry, one truth stands tall: India doesn't just survive Pakistan's provocations, it thrives beyond them. Thank you for watching Statecraft.